$70,000 repair bill.
Okay, that one. Next one.
Yeah. I put on stream here.
You can go grab one.
Yeah, if you can.
Just send that response.
Yeah. And then on the
Sorry. Shingly. Yeah. Okay. I'll just go and copy this man.
You can choose to just stay if you want, but this one they can afford you to stay or not.
But they actually asked.
That's the prescribed ones that you have to stay away. So that you can make a call. If you just find it easier to just stay away, you can just make a call. Yeah.
out from there.
Here we go.
Sounds right out for it.
The live stream.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending the Ordinary Council meeting today. I declare the Ordinary meeting of 24 April 2024 open at 9 a.m. I advise members of the public this meeting is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with Council's standing orders. Councillors and staff are reminded of their responsibilities under their respective codes of conduct, both inside the Council meeting and when dealing externally on behalf of Council. On behalf of Whitsunday Regional Council, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet here today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. We recognise their deep, enduring connection to country and we extend our respect and gratitude for their wisdom and culture. Welcome councillors, WRC staff, members of the public and media. Okay, item one, I'm not recording any apologies here today. There are no apologies for the meeting. Number two, condolences. Are there any councillors that wish to acknowledge any recently deceased members of the community? Councillor Collins.
Yeah, I'd like to just note the passing of David Hinchin. Dave was a well-respected volunteer in our community. He was past president many times of the Proserpine Lions Club. He organised the Youth of the Year. He was a volunteer all around the place. Every function you go to, he was there. He actually emceed the Australia Day Awards in 2015 at the Entertainment Centre for us. He was also a life member of Athletics North Queensland, both him and his wife, for what the service they've done throughout Queensland with athletics and that. He was actually a baton bearer at the Queen's Relay in 2018 for the Gold Coast, and he was an official at the 2018 Commonwealth Games. I'd just like to pass on the Council's condolences to his wife Leanne and family. He's going to be greatly missed throughout the whole region. Thanks.
Thank you. On behalf of Whitsunday Regional Council, we would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the recently departed of the Whitsundays region and offer our sincere condolences to their families and loved ones. Can you all please stand for a minute of silence? Thank you. Please be seated. Item number three, confirmation of minutes. Director Bradshaw, would you like to speak first?
I can. Yep. So, councillors, you have before you two sets of minutes. The first set of minutes being the last council meeting minutes of the term that ended in March 2024, and the second set of minutes relate to the first post-statutory meeting of council. It would be ordinary practice for councillors who were present at both of those meetings to move or second those, so that a new councillor who wasn't present at the meeting in March shouldn't be moving those minutes just from a technical perspective. Thanks, Matt.
So confirming two sets of minutes, 5th of March 2024 and 11th of April 2024. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Simpson. Put to the vote. Vote is carried. Item number 4, business arising. For noting only, Roach and Taylor public question responses have been provided from the 28th February 2024 meeting. Would any councillor like to raise any business arising from the previous minutes? Item number 5, Merrill Minute. There is no Merrill Minute. Item number 6, Notice of Motion. 6.1, Notice of Motion Dingo Stinger Net. Notice of Motion, Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, thanks.
Could I second that, thanks?
Move Councillor Simpson, second.
Easy, yeah. Okay. Is it up on the screen? Yeah, this notice of motion came about from a request from the Dingo Beach Progress Association. As you can see, the items there, the installation of a stinger net at Dingo Beach for a trial period from October to May, and the removal of the damaged swimming enclosure prior to the installation of the stinger net. As you would be aware, the old swimming enclosure is fairly badly damaged as of January this year, and the installation of a double-sided stinger warning education sign at the stinger net location. As we're all aware, we call them stinger nets, but Irukandjis don't understand this. They're a little smaller than the current nets around the state, but yeah, I'd prefer to be called a swimming enclosure, but they do tend to keep out the box jellies. And the continued use of the stinger net each year following, should no complaint or negative feedback be received by council during the trial period, as we'll probably get a little bit of kickback if this is supported by some members of the public, so that's always an option. But I think it's a good motion going forward. That there's no water at Dingo Beach, as you know, there's not many swimming pools or anything, and it's fairly well utilised. There's barbecues and shoulder sheds down there, and the swimming enclosure is about all they've got at Dingo Beach, apart from a pub. So hopefully it'll be supported. Thank you.
Councillor, would you like to speak for?
Thank you. Through you, I think probably to Director Julie. What is the actual wording on our stinger net signs? Does it warn that it may not protect you from Irukandji and that we still suggest that you wear a stinger suit during that period of time?
Further comments, questions? Councillor?
I'm not against the idea, but I'd actually like to table it. I believe that this could turn into another bollard episode. There's been no discussion with the local people down there. I've spoken to a few locals; they're not aware of it, and this is the with the bollards. The discussion was between the Dingo Beach Progressive Association and the Parks and Gardens, and the locals took it out on the council, as they weren't aware of it. Then they all realised what the actual story was. So I believe that we need to table this and do some public consultation down the beach, down there with the locals, just to clarify what their what they actually want, because I mean, you know, no one around this table knows more about how passionate people are with their swimming enclosures than I am with Wilson's Beach. And believe me, it's not something simple we could just walk in there and take it down. So I'd just like to table it and have some public consultation. Just to be on the safe side, just to cover everyone, cover our backs and cover everyone down the beach there, see what their intentions are. So.
You can either deal with that.
As a seconder of the motion, could we add another dot point that we conduct some public consultation, so therefore we're...
Amend the motion.
Yes, that's all, just an amendment to the motion. Councillor Simpson, are you
Just
cool with that?
make a comment, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
Mayor, to Director Julie, if you read in the fine print, it's based on a trial period. If the public are not happy with it, it's only for 1 year. So I know it does say to pull out the old enclosure, but as you read, there's no approvals. That was installed 50 years ago, and we'd be down the same path as Wilson's Beach with trying to deal with the state. We've been dealing 4 years trying to get approval for a walking track down at Dingo Beach. So nothing's simple when you have to, especially on the marine park, it's on the foreshore. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Councillor Robb.
Yeah, through the mayor. Yeah, I'm definitely not against swimming enclosures. I do think that they're a great thing. However, I probably do think a bit of consultation mightn't go astray, just so people are aware of what's happening. I know the Progress Association have sent in a letter, but how many people are actually in that committee? And yeah, do the wider thing of each sort of know what's going on? I just don't want to surprise them. That's all. So, and I know once you take out one of these big structures, you never get them back again. And I would just hate to see something like this go. Like these hard structures are like gold. So yeah, and there's nothing to say next term of council we have a change around the table, and all these floating stinger enclosures are gone. I would just hate to see that lost for the public. That's my only concern. So, because Bowen did previously have one, but however they don't anymore either. So I just want to make sure that the public are fully aware, everyone's on board, and then yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also had in my notes a concern about just removing the fixed structure straight away before we even go through a trial. I do understand there's issues if we ever wanted to renew that, but if it's gone, there'll be much bigger issues. We'll be back where Councillor Collins well knows we are, but Wilson's Beach. I also understand that even if we have that fixed structure, the maintenance costs on that do add up, which are offset against the cost of the net. I feel community consultation could be a way to find out how the people felt about it, and I do know with the bollard situation we're still sitting there with over $100,000 in the budget allocated for bollards that aren't going anywhere. So might it be possible to include consultation about the bollards and the swimming enclosure into one round of consultation and get ourselves a bit of a plan going forward?
Comments? We have a procedural motion on the phone. Procedural motion.
So the procedural motion moved by Councillor Collins that the item be deferred pending further community consultation. I put to the vote. All those in favour? All opposed? Okay. Vote is carried.
5-2.
5-2, yes. Okay, moving on to the next item, item number 7, deputations. No deputations have been received for this meeting. Item 8, petitions, questions on notice. Does any councillor have a petition they wish to put to the table? No? No petitions received for this meeting and no questions on notice. No questions on notice from the previous meeting. Item number 9, questions from the public gallery. No public questions received for this meeting. Item number 10, committee reports. No committee reports for this meeting. Okay, moving on to item 11, officers' reports. 11.1, development application for development permit, a material change of use, short-term accommodation at 2 Armada Crescent, Jubilee Pocket. Councillor Simpson, seconded Councillor Collins.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a quick PowerPoint presentation if you would like, on the basis that there weren't many councillors at the briefing, so if I may progress with that. If I can get the special IT stuff to work. The first one is a short-term accommodation application at 2 Armada Crescent by the applicant. The subject land, the locality, you can see it's a low density residential zone surrounded by low density residential zones. The large land at the rear of 2 Armada isn't developed and is heavily vegetated, but it is zoned residential, low density residential, so the subject land there is highlighted. It is an existing 2-storey dwelling right at the top of the cul-de-sac, has a reasonably commanding presence as you enter the cul-de-sac. Plenty of parking for 2 vehicles undercover and also in the driveway. Plans of the layout of the dwelling are provided as well. 2 submissions have been received from adjoining owners, as you can see. It is an increase in the number of short-term accommodations in the area. I should point out to council that for Armada, immediately as you look at the plan to the south, is also has also got approval for short-term accommodation. When you're standing in the cul-de-sac, you can't see for Armada because it's just a driveway that basically goes up the hill and then goes into a battle axe lot. But nonetheless, there are 2 short-term accommodations together, one approved, one that is before us today. Certainly the concerns from 2 of the neighbours in relation to the shortage of rental accommodation, the issues that they perceive in regard to drinking and partying, and the potential damage to property from large boats that might be parked in the driveway. Now, we submit to council that they can all be covered by conditions of approval, and they are, to a certain extent, matters between neighbours, but nonetheless, the proposal is consistent with the planning scheme requirements. We do believe that there are appropriate conditions to be imposed on the development. Car parking is provided on the site, so we don't see that there is an expectation that will be a parking problem, particularly if it's in the court bowl. And on the balance of issues, it's recommended for approval.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Once again, I will not be supporting anything in the low, medium density residential area. I would like, however, how can we approve something that goes against our local law? And I read under the nominated property manager will specifically respond to complaints pertaining to guest behaviour made before 1 a.m. I thought our local law said 24 hours a day, but within 24 hours if reasonable. So that part of it goes against our local law, so that's just another reason I won't be supporting it.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Also, it's not only against the local law, it's also against the conditions of the development approval that they must supply a 24-hour number. So yes, it is against the requirements and conditions of the applications that's put before us today. I'd also say that when we discuss it being supported by the planning scheme, I see the door is more left open. When we refer to the planning scheme, it does say that limited other accommodation activities may also be established in the low density residential zone where compatible with the prevailing residential character and amenity. I think we find from talking to our constituents regularly, from the number of submissions that continue to come into council, that I cannot find that short-term accommodation in our residential dormitory suburbs is compatible with the residential character and amenity of those suburbs. I'll put it down quickly to a comment from one of the submissions which said, I thought council was putting a stop to all the holiday rentals going up in suburban areas like ours. It's sad and disgraceful considering the current epidemic our town is in with the lack of residential properties in our area. And our council isn't fighting hard enough for the families who are losing out. I'll continue to fight for those families, the people that want peaceful enjoyment of their home. I can't support this, so.
Further comments?
To the Mayor, to the Director, has there been any, on previous applications, has Council refused applications and they've been challenged in the courts?
Thank you, Councillor Finlay. Through you, Mr Mayor, Council have refused several short-term accommodations over the last couple of years. They've gone to the, they've either stopped there or many of them have gone to the Planning and Environment Court, and the advice Council's received is that the planning scheme is unhelpful if we are desirous of refusing an application, and that the planning scheme supports the application more than otherwise is the case. So they've generally been settled through the court process and approvals have been issued for them.
Just to follow up, I would again ask, how can we approve something that does not comply with our local law as far as short-term accommodation?
Thank you, Councillor Cliff. Through Mr Mayor, that will be addressed when they apply for a local law licence, and that's something that we are aware of, and we'll deal with at that time.
But with respect, it's actually in the document here that that's what they're going to do. So is not that taken into account when you put it forward for approval?
Through Mr Mayor, yes, we have taken that into account, and we're comfortable with it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There have been other ones which have been refused. Many of them don't proceed through court. Some have. This has never been tested before the court. In the neighbouring property, it was adjourned before commencement. We've all spoken about the housing crisis. If somebody came to me and looked down at the map and said, we have 18,000 residential properties, how can we have a housing crisis? I'd say that's impossible because those properties simply aren't available. If somebody came to me and said, we can't fight this in court because there's 1,000 surrounding properties, I'd say that doesn't count because they're not available. This isn't supported by our planning scheme consistently because it's impact accessible. That leaves us open to other considerations. And I think all of us know around this table that that housing crisis is a major consideration for us. We have to look at this as being whether it's something we do want to find out if the situation that we are in, where I believe there's a far bigger shortage of residential long-term renting properties than there are short-term accommodation properties available.
Councillor Simpson, any final comment? So the motion that council approve the application for development application for development permit for material change of use at 2 Armada Crescent, Jubilee Pocket. I put to the vote. All those in favour? Those against?
Could I be recorded against it, please?
And I request the division.
So division is noted. Motion is carried 5-2. Councillor Clifford and Councillor Bowman in division. Moving on to the next item, 11.2, development application for development permit material change of use, short-term accommodation, 16 Harbour Avenue, Shute Harbour. Move Councillor Collins, second Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Similar to the previous application, short-term accommodation, 16 Harbour Avenue. You can see the subject land in maroon, red colour, low density residential. It's not a typical residential area. There is no adjoining owner to the south or west. It is very steep in that location. The land slopes down towards the bay, and there is that reserve that surrounds the subject land on two sides. Existing dwelling, 3 bedrooms, parking in a carport and also in the driveway. A floor layout of the house is provided. There are no changes proposed to the house. So as you drive past the premises, what you see is what you get. And certainly our position is that it is compatible. It is a typical 2-storey residential dwelling that sits in the area. There were submissions from residents in the area. 4 submissions were received. I think we notified council yesterday or the day before that one of those submissions has been withdrawn. We have that correspondence to confirm that. The concerns from the submissions are very similar to the previous application, compatible with the residential character, behaviour of people that attend and participate in the short-term accommodation premises. Again, we think that there are conditions imposed that will help manage that so that the impact to adjoining owners is minimal, if at all. And in fact, that's the the reason why why the submission was withdrawn, because the submitter spoke to the proponent and felt that they were very concerned about the impact in the area, and there were sufficient controls in place to address that. You can see that the number of submitters is shown. They are somewhat distant from the subject land. Again, we think that the proposal is consistent with the planning scheme requirements. Conditions are to be imposed that will manage the impacts that the submitters are concerned about, and certainly car parking is suitably addressed. So again, on the balance of issues, we think that the application should be approved.
In the report it says there are 7 approved STAs. That doesn't include the grandfathered ones, does it?
Through Mr. Mayor, no, we are in the process of addressing a short-term accommodation that believes there is existing use rights, and there is another one that I think has come in, so that the numbers are thereabouts as far as 6 or 7.
Okay, so you also state in somewhere, I'm sorry because I'm not on my usual device, that it's about 7%. That includes vacant land, because the people down there tell me that it's closer to 20% of the properties are STA, whether approved or not, but that's what they are. And when is enough enough? I have great concerns for the amenity of the area, and that we're not looking after our residents. You know, you can't say that a block of land is a residence. I'm talking about built form. 20% of those are used for short-term accommodation, according to the residents down there, and not just one.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've taken the properties, whether they've got a dwelling on them or not. If the residents feel as though there's 20%, we'd be very keen to hear where the other short-term accommodation properties are, because we will compliance them and make sure that they have the necessary approvals in place, and we're happy to do that. I should also say that 2 things give me confidence in recommending it for approval in regard that we get very few complaints. We have recently spoken with the proponents, or the 3 main proponents that look after short-term accommodation, about the number of times they get complaints, and they say that they are lucky to get called out once a month for several hundred short-term accommodations. So the incidence of nuisance is really quite limited in our view.
Sorry, it was just more a matter of density, like where is enough enough? You know, I think we need to do an amendment to our town plan where we say this is the cap and no more. But at the moment it's just open slather, and I appreciate your position, but
Sure.
you've got to appreciate mine too.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the issue about a benchmark, the difficulty is that at the moment there is no benchmark, so we can't say that 8%, 9%, 20% is high, low, or whatever. The dilemma then becomes, how do you determine what is an appropriate benchmark? And there needs to be quite a lot more work done about that to show the evidence as to what is the trigger for a property that is the last straw that breaks the camel's back as being inappropriate. So more work will be needed on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will speak to that too. The word within our planning scheme is limited. There's a dictionary definition for that. You've got to wonder if 20% is well over what anyone would consider as the word limited is. This is something that can't be tested anywhere but a courtroom, unfortunately. If we decided 20%, 25%, and also when you look at that 17.5% as the residents mentioned, we've got to look at how many of those are owner-occupied. Then, what percentage of the available long-term rentals are they taking out of the market? If 50% of them are owner-occupiers, we are then taking away 40% of the available long-term rentals from that suburb by short-term accommodations. These are all relative figures. This also isn't working for anybody. The people that want to put forward for a short-term accommodation are required to put in an impact assessable application at over $5,000 application fees, about $5,000 in town planning fees for something that comes here to the table and we say we've got to rubber stamp it through. So it's not working for the applicants as much as I don't believe it's working for the residents. This is why we need to work on the planning scheme, work out where we want them, where we don't want them, what's fitted there, and make it a better match for our residents and for the people who want to invest in our area. And I don't see what we're putting forward as doing that at the moment.
For or against? The motion that council approve the development permit for material change of use at 16 Harbour Avenue, Shute Harbour. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against?
Please.
Division.
The motion is carried with division 5-2. Councillor Bowman and Councillor Clifford against. Moving on to the next item, 11.3. Development application for development permit of a reconfiguration of a lot at 77 Telford Road, Strathclyde.
You, Mr. Mayor, that there are a conflict of interest in this matter. A couple of the submitters, clients of my professional business, just that there are conflict of interest in that.
Leaving the room,
In the room. It'll be noted that Councillor Finlay has declared a conflict of interest in this left the room.
Councillor.
Thank you. Do I have a mover? Councillor Simpson. Second, Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, a short PowerPoint presentation to explain the application. It's a 1 lot into 6 lot subdivision, 77 Telford Road, Strathclyde. The subject land is bolded in the middle of the map. It is existing 1 lot. It does consist currently of 3 parcels and sits amongst rural residential zone land, rural residential development, and also rural land that's used for a variety of cane farming and other agricultural uses. The diagram on the right shows the various overlays that affect the subject land, and all of those have been taken into account when assessing the application. As you can see, there's the 6 lot subdivision. There's 5 lots on the far eastern parcel. The remaining 2 lots, the remaining land on the left hand side is actually 1 certificate of title but 2 lots. It's separated by an unused roadway. The 5 lots on the right hand side are all rural residential in nature. Some of them are affected by flooding. All of them have the capacity for a dwelling to be located suitably on the site. So the concern that we have is that the development is not consistent with the state and the planning scheme requirements. It does fragment rural land in respect it's 1 title at present, and it'll create 6 if it is approved. There are issues with Telford Road at the moment as far as the impact that flooding has on the road. It blocks it for some time in a 1 in a 10-year flood event. The road is undersized for the number of allotments to get access of it, so if it was a new subdivision we would be placing standards on the road construction that would reflect a roads wider than what currently exists. The applicant has indicated a willingness to contribute to the road upgrading. However, not contribute 100% to the upgrade to bring it up to the required standard. The roadway design that's been submitted doesn't remedy the flood issues, so it would appear that it doesn't necessarily make it any worse or any better. The size of the lots don't comply with the minimum requirement in the rural zone of 100 hectares, so there's clear fragmentation. There's concern about the flooding impact and what that means to new residents coming to the area. And there has been substantial number of submissions that have raised many of the issues already identified, and it's certainly explained in the council report. The recommendation to council is for the application to be refused due to the non-compliance matters.
Thank you, Director. Speak, Paul.
Yeah, I just want to make some comments about this one. I really feel for the applicant here. They've got a rural block of land in amongst suburbia almost. This is part of the reason why we need to upgrade our rural land use strategy. What we've got in place at the moment's like 10 years old. I think it's a hangover from amalgamation where we brought the minimum size lot from Bowen back to this area. There's numerous rural res blocks along the eastern corridor of this farm, and they've all been since cut up into 4,000 square metre lots or smaller lots, and that only escalates all the problems that the farmer has. So yeah, I'm a bit both ways, but one issue I noticed in the submissions that someone put in is really concerning to me, and I think it should be at the top of the list for this one. I noticed it didn't really go to the state referral agency. As you turn into Telford Road, it's a very busy little road. There's lots of residential. There's an engineering business up there. There's no turning lanes, and it's in a 100k zone. The school bus drop-off zone, and it's one thing we need to fight for. The Gregory Cannon Valley Road and Shute Harbour Road, we need to make them as safe as possible. They're very busy roads, and I think the intersection of Telford Road and Gregory Cannon Valley Road really needs to be looked at down the track because it's a very busy little part of the road.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. Director Neil, I know you did mention that this development triggers an upgrade, the road upgrade. There is already a lot of development with Telford Rise. Did that trigger any sort of upgrade to the road? Because there is a lot of houses sort of in behind there.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. It's probably, you can see it best on that plan. I'm not aware about whether there was an upgrade to Telford Rise, Telford Road through to the subject land. I'd have to go back and double check, but I would have thought that the cost of upgrading the road from Gregory Cannon Valley Road all the way through to the subject land would have been quite an exorbitant cost. So whether it was part of that subdivision or not, I'm not aware.
Yeah, through the Chair. It's just a shame that this one small subdivision would trigger like the whole road to be upgraded when there is multiple blocks already up there. However, looking at it, I'm in two minds. I think it does bother me greatly with the cane farm there. I think the main purpose for the land is agriculture, so I think we need to look after that as well. However, I think this has sort of come at the wrong time. I think eventually it will come that way, but at this point in time, maybe it is a little bit too soon. I sort of have struggled with this, making a decision on this, but I think, I have to go with the amount of submissions that there is a lot of residents that are concerned, so you've got to take that into consideration, particularly one of them being the adjoining cane farm.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll try to look through. I believe Telford Rise ended up in court. It hasn't been rezoned to rural residential. There is other rural residential around there. I think maybe that's why the conditions didn't end up in place that you would usually expect. And this is realistically one of my concerns there, not just the intersection, but also the multiple creek crossings that are affected by only 1 in 10 year floods, not other ones, and then we are still increasing upon conflicted land. I think even the submissions refer to complaints the cane farmer is already receiving. We add 6 more residences in there. Do we lose another working cane farm? So I agree that within this area, I agree with both Councillor Simpson and Councillor Wright, that within this area, I think we do need a better plan of how we're managing this land, finding out what our priorities are that will help guide us through these decisions in the future.
Any further comments on that? So the motion that council refuse a development application, the development permit for reconfiguration at 77 Telford Road, Strathdickey, I put to the vote. Those in for? The motion is carried. Talking about just confirming for Councillor Finlay that item 11.3 was carried 6-0. Next item, 11.4, temporary closure of Whitsunday Regional Libraries. Move Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Collins. Would you like to speak to the matter, Director?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, basically it is to have a temporary closure of the all libraries, the region's libraries, for 1 day on Monday the 17th of June 2024. Then a second closure, which is a longer closure for building works to be done at the Bowen Library from the 8th of July till the 13th of August. The recommendation also includes that there'll be a scaled back program at the for the Bowen Library whilst the Bowen closure is on for the period of time, and we'll move across into the library staff will move across into the training room at the Bowen admin building, so we'll be still able to continue with home deliveries and that sort of thing. And then the fourth one is a delegation to the CEO to extend the temporary closures should the building works go on a little bit longer than what's expected. Just a little bit of background for councillors. The 1 day for the closure is so the library staff and I, we can all come together, and that's all library staff, casuals as well, to have a strategic planning day. We're required to have a business plan or a strategic plan with our agreement with the Library Board of Queensland. Ours has expired, so we are due for a new one. The thought was to come together on what is not normally a real busy day across the libraries, put plenty of media out that will be closed, come together, have the full day strategic planning session, and then the other is so that we can get the works done in the Bowen Library. Basically the works, councillors, is the air conditioning is being changed over. For all air conditioners, they're pretty old these days in the Bowen Library. Ceiling's got to come out, so there's a whole ton of work that's got to be done. So we need to close through that period of time. Thanks, councillors.
Any questions or comments, Councillor Clifford?
Yes, through you, Mr. Nature Director. So Mrs. Smith, who's regular to the library, will she be able to ring up and say, "Can I get a book? A specific book?"
Just through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, councillor. It'll be virtually exactly the same as what we did here in Prossie when we had the Prossie Library being refurbished after the cyclone, be able to order their books and we'll have them there ready for a quick up.
Thank you.
Quickly, thank you for that. I think it's a great initiative to bring all the staff together for the new business plan. I think just like we support public consultation, consultation within the staff and the people at the coalface dealing with the public is good. And the last comment is it'll be wonderful to see the buckets disappear from under the air conditioners. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Finlay.
Director Julie, with regarding the floor, has there been any assessment or any reports of any water coming back through the floor? I know many years ago there was an issue with the water there because there was a very low water table there, and I understand at the time there was a sealant put over the concrete, but I just wondered how it was standing up.
So good news on that one, councillor, is that yep, it is all going well, and I will also add that the works that have been done in the Bowen admin building over the past few months is also holding up, and it's great. There's no dampness or moisture anymore.
Excellent.
Okay, nothing further. Motion that council approve the closure of the library as per what is listed in the report. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously.
Just a temporary closure.
Yeah, temporary closure, sorry. Okay, item 11.5, Sport and Recreation Club grants.
Through the Mayor, declare a prescribed conflict of interest on this matter. Some of the applicants are clients of mine, and I'm actually the auditor on some of those applicants. And, so I just declare an interest and leave the room.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So basically we are in the process of working through the new legislation in relation to conflict of interests. Talking through with Councillor Finlay, we are probably today a little bit conservative in our approach. We are seeking further legal advice and further advice from the government in relation to that to try and clarify some of the conflicts that are occurring. But just for today's meeting, Councillor Finlay has decided to basically be as conservative as possible as we start to work through these processes. But it does highlight the legislation. If there is a potential conflict, then obviously the councillor is required to declare that and also to then decide whether it's prescribed to leave the room or actually to allow that to vote. So we may have a number of those today going through, but as mentioned, we are endeavouring to get, particularly for Councillor Finlay, but for all councillors and the Mayor, some further advice in relation to that, and we'll get some more legal advice over the coming weeks. It is our first meeting and we're still working our way through some of those provisions.
See ya.
I just
Moody?
make a comment that CEO, just on that, on the more minor trivial issues, wouldn't it be more fluent for our meeting instead of, Councillor Finlay could declare an interest and take no part in the debate or voting and stay in the room? I think that'd be a simple solution.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, the legislation has basically, if there is a financial benefit or a financial interest in relation to it, that tends to actually suggest it as a prescribed use, and basically the councillor has no option but to leave the room. As I said, where it's a general interest, there's that other option of actually allowing them to talk to yourselves. But I said, as we work through and understand the interest a little bit more, we can work through it. But generally, if it's of a financial nature, that unfortunately, whether it's $1 or a large number, is an interest in that. And we actually, while it might seem minor, it is a significant interest that needs to be considered.
That's all right.
If I could just ask a question, so even just memberships now, so as an example, if say my daughter was a member of football or netball or something like that, would that mean that we would have to, because obviously there is like a, like you have to pay membership to play, so does that cover that or?
So it really depends on the type of interest that occurs, but generally if it's just a minor interest, where it's a membership, then that's generally okay. It's more where they actually have an executive, or yourself or your related party has an executive element in relation to that, or you have a significant financial, you're influencing that club to a certain degree, or influencing that component. As again, there's a toolkit that's available on LGAQ which enables you to work through that. It asks you a lot of questions but tries to drill down through that and gives the councillors a little bit more guidance in relation to that. Encourage you to use that and test that. We will be putting some of these ones from today through that toolkit a little bit more to test that out. It's not an exact science, unfortunately, in relation to it. It depends on what is your level of influence over that club and would that actually be perceived by others as an interest that may affect your voting capacity. That's all right.
Thank you, through the chair. I guess, yeah, this is getting very restrictive, I suppose, and it would be good once we do get the advice back. I just think we've all got outside interests and that sort of thing, and that's what puts us in this position in the first place. So it's really hard, and I feel for Councillor Finlay having to leave the room like this because he's elected by the people to be able to make decisions. So hopefully the advice comes back, in his favour, because like I said, we all have different jobs outside of this as well, and we're dealing with people and we're selling things, and that's just part of life. So I just hope it comes back the right advice.
Mr. Mayor, this is an issue that has been raised and we continue to raise by particularly the mayors and the other mayors in Queensland to the government, that this is causing some concern in relation to it, and obviously some provisions or some flexibility in relation to these provisions would be desired. So there'll be a constant process at the various conferences going forward, I think, to ask the government to have a look at this issue.
Okay, back to the issue at hand. Do I have a mover? Councillor Clifford, second to Councillor Wright. Anyone to add to it, Director?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, you'll see that there is quite a number of sport and rec club grants here this morning, 13 in total. But due to the fact that we've been in caretaker, and so we've got 3 months in here altogether. But again, all on a tiered band and all in accordance with the policy. Thanks, Councillor.
Questions or comments? No? Okay. The motion that Council approve the payment of sport and recreation club grants to the recipients listed in the report, I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.4 is carried. Item 11.6, donation request bus hire to attend Morning Melodies performance by Melodies Club. Councillor Wright, second Councillor Finlay. Director Wright, do you want to speak?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this one is for a donation of $3,750 to cover the costs to hire a bus, a larger bus, but that'll take the large wheelchairs, to enable the Bowen Probus Club to come down to the 5 morning melodies that we have on the program at the PEC for this year. Thank you.
Any questions?
Just for clarity, is that per performance or is that cumulative? Sorry.
Council, sorry, Mr. Mayor, that's in total.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion that Council approve a donation of $3,750 to cover the costs of hiring a large wheelchair-friendly bus to transport members of the Bowen Probus Club to 5 morning melody sessions held at the Cross Point Entertainment Centre throughout 2024. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. On 11.7, donation request, rates and service charges, Bowen Community Centre.
Mr. Mayor, declare a prescribed conflict of interest in this matter. The treasurer of the Bowen Community Centre, I've been treasurer for about 27 years, so I'm not very interested in it.
Councillor Finlay, conflict of interest as well. Moved Councillor Wright, seconded Councillor Clifford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this one is for the donation on rates and service charges for the new Bowen Community Centre. Now, you'll probably notice that in the recommendation, it's only for the service charges. Given that the valuations are here now, but not at the time when the reports were written and had to be in. But it includes that the donation for the actual general rates will be once they come out, 100% will be for them, and also to consider that we just included into the annual donations that we have each year.
Questions? Councillor Harman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Director Julie, the family centre and the op shop are staying at William Street, and then they won't be affected by this decision. We'll still be supporting.
Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor. They've already had theirs $2,242.24 for the half year on their general rates, plus $93.96 for the water. So they'll continue until they finish at those buildings and move completely across to the other.
Comments? No? Motion that council approve a donation of $2,817.25 to the Bowen Community Centre, which is equivalent to 75% of the net service charges for the period 1st of January 2024 to 30th of June 2024. Approve 100% donation on the rates charges once property valuation has been received from the Department of Resources and a general rate is applied to the property, and consider the inclusion of Bowen Community Centre on council's rates and service charges donation register for future donations. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried 6-0. Councillor. For your information, item 11.7 was carried. Item 11.8, sponsorship request 2024, Don River Dash, Vertican Off-Roaders Inc. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Finlay. Would you like to speak to this one, Director?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this is for in-kind sponsorship of up to $20,000 for the annual Don River Dash. Basically the in-kind sponsorship, that will cover most of the work that that the infrastructure services team are involved in, traffic management plans, the letter that goes to QPS for the road closures, all the road closures, starting on the Friday afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. So in total, it's 5 because there's the trials on Friday afternoon and then the 2 lots on Saturday and another 2 lots on Sunday. So the infrastructure team are there for quite some time. And of course, a water truck. So it's up to in-kind sponsorship of $20,000. Thank you.
Thank you, through the Mayor. Just like to speak for this. This is one of the biggest events in our region. I think on the Friday night last year, they actually counted how many people came through the showgrounds. There was a bit of meet and greet, and the families and kids could go and have a look at the bikes and buggies and that sort of thing. And there's over 5,000 people that actually walked through the showground. So that was huge, and it brings millions of dollars into our economy, so into the Whitsunday region. And then usually the competitors stay here for a little while as well. So it really is a great event, and I'd just like to pass on my congratulations to the whole committee. They do a fantastic job.
Thanks. Councillor Harman,
Quickly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree, it's a great event for the region. It does bring a lot of people in. I see the number of participants, everything is increasing. I do understand we also include rubbish in this $20,000. That's obviously an expense that's constantly growing. I do see we haven't offered them the full amount. The one thing I do know previously is that for people attending, it's always been free. I just haven't seen that mentioned again this time. So I do think, one of the real bonuses back to our community is that we do keep that attendance free for the public to come along and watch what is terrific.
Comments? Okay, the motion that council approve an in-kind sponsorship of up to $20,000 only to assist the Burdekin Off-Riders Inc. in holding the 2024 Don River Dash on 6 to 8th of September. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.9, sponsorship request, Australian Dirt Titles, Whitsunday Dirt Riders. Move Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Simpson. Speak to this one, Director.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, due to the success of the Queensland dirt track titles back in 2022, the Whitsunday Dirt riders have been selected to host the 2024 Australian Senior dirt track titles in July. So the sponsorship is for them to assist with that event, and it'll just basically help with the upgrade that's required at different parts of the venue out there. So for the big weekend.
Councillors like to speak to. Move that council approve silver level sponsorship of $5,000 only to assist the Whitsunday Dirt Riders in holding the 2024 Australian Senior Dirt Track titles in Proserpine on 20 to 21st of July. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.10, sponsorship request, curated art exhibition, Creative Connections Whitsunday.
Mr. Mayor, I declare a declarable conflict of interest. My wife is an artist. She's also a member of this organisation and could be a potential exhibitor in the exhibition. So I'll leave it with that.
Councillor Fenway has declared a conflict of interest and is left. Move Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Bowman. Like to speak to this one?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So councillors, this one is for what we basically used to know as the Whitsunday Arts Festival Committee. Now with the Creative Connections Whitsunday, it is to go towards its sponsorship of $3,000. It goes towards the basically the first prize at the art exhibition. So it covers that, and council, Mr. Mayor, are in receipt of that artwork for one of the buildings at council.
Not from our region, and I believe that there should be some kind of an amendment in there that our money stays in our community. Also, I would like a councillor, possibly you, I don't really care who it is, to be part of the judging panel, just to make sure that we get something that we really want and appreciate.
Any further discussion on that?
I'll speak to that briefly.
Thank you. Do you see here they do offer the opportunity for a councillor to be included on the judging panel, so it's not us to work out who wants to take up that. And I've also noted in this that they are making it available to people of over 16 years who reside within the Great Barrier Reef catchment area. Yeah, whether we want to include that, but this is part of the Great Barrier Reef Festival.
Councillor Simpson would be good at that. He's a bit of an artist.
Can't you go on a bit conflict of
Can't
interest?
use your arms, you can use your mind.
Yeah, if it's okay, I'll make a comment on that. If a councillor was part of the judging panel, which we've given money to, wouldn't they have a conflict?
Mayor, we've obviously given authority to the councillor to do that. Obviously, I don't think the council would be lodging their own artwork to be voted on. That's where the conflict would occur. So I think it's fine for the councillor to be available to do that.
So Councillor Finlay can't judge his wives.
Moving on amendment. Existing recommendation.
So what is the amendment? Mr. Mayor, okay, so, okay, because the sponsorship, actually, there's an invite for a councillor to be part of the judging, and it's just whether or not Councillor Clifford wants it region only or in the Great Barrier Reef catchment.
It's sort of a very slippery slope. It's just that I personally thought that last year's winner was a bit lacking, if I can put it that way. It didn't float my boat, I can assure you. And it's also a little disappointing that council funds are going outside of region, whereas everything else that we do, it's within region. So I'd prefer it to stay in region, to be honest with you.
Mayor, I think if you leave that as the resolution in the letter that we send in accepting or putting forward that contribution, we can highlight those two particular points.
Well, that's fine. Thank you.
Yes, if we wouldn't that go against if we brought it back to just people in the region putting their artwork in. I don't agree with that because there's good artists all around the state. They probably don't get a gig every week, and like the beauty of the art's in the eye of the beholder. I think that it might not float someone's boat, but it obviously floats some other people's boats. I don't think we should be restricted and just keeping it in people just in our region.
That's all.
Yeah, look, this isn't our event, so I don't see how we have any control over who the prizes are given to. I think we either support this or we don't. Yeah.
Motion to the vote. The council approve a sponsorship of 3,000 only to assist Creative Connections Whitsundays Inc. in holding a curated art exhibition as part of the 2024 Reef Festival on 1st of August, 1st to the 4th of August 2024. I put to the vote.
Can we just ask the question though? So this is for the Broad region? This is the original motion?
Yes, that's correct. Yep. Those for? Motion is carried 6-0. Finlay, item 11.10 was carried. Item 11, financial support for junior elite athletes, January to March 2024. Third, Councillor Collins, second, Councillor Clifford.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this is for financial support for 22 junior elite athletes within the region. Again, there's a greater number due to caretaker. It's in accordance with the policy on the level of representation, whether it be North Queensland, Queensland, interstate or overseas. Thank you.
Questions or comments, councillors? The motion to support the, to provide the
Financial support as per the report, I put to the vote. Those for?
motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.12, sponsorship request 2024 Barn River Rodeo and Camp Draft.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I declare a prescribed conflict of interest in this matter. The applicant is some of the manager of SPP Partners. I'll have interest on it.
Did you win the 2020 buck ride, mate?
No, they is. Only one half paid though.
Councillor Fenway has declared a conflict of interest. And Councillor Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Clifford. Director Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this one is a cash sponsorship for the 2024 Bowen River Rodeo and Camp Draft up on Bowen River. It's the it assists with the expenses to host a 3-day event. For anybody that hasn't been, it's a great weekend. Always is pretty cold, but a great weekend. And as you can see from the report, this event has been held for many, many years, and gradually the sponsorship is decreasing because the committee are being able to get other sponsorship as well. Thank you.
Councillor Wright.
Thank you, through the Mayor. Director Julie, I'm not sure if this one's for you or not, but I know last year, because of the situation with the Ted Cunningham Bridge out there, we did have staff out there, just making sure everything was going smoothly. Will that be happening again?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor, in discussions with the Director of Infrastructure Services, between the two of us, I think we can sort something out and what needs to be done. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's you.
Further comment?
The motion that council approve a cash sponsorship of $5,000 to the Bowen River Rodeo and Camp Draft Association Inc. to assist with expenses to host a 3-day rodeo and camp draft along with additional junior bush sporting events. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried 6-0.
Councillor Fenway, and 11.2 is carried. Item 11.13, donation requests approved under 2000 January to March 2024. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Clifford. Would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this is for noting of the of 9 donations that have been throughout the months of January, February, March, again due to caretaker, and it's under the $2,000 just to be brought back to council for noting. Thanks, councillors.
Councillors, any comments? The motion, council note the donations as per the report. I put to the vote. Those in favour?
Motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.14, special projects grant applications round 2, 6 October 2023 to 9 February 2024.
Mr. Mayor, same as conflict of interest. Some of these organisations I'm actually the auditor on, and my firm provide professional services to them. So I'll declare conflict of interest with me all the time.
Councillor Fenway declared conflict of interest and is left to
Move to Councillor Wright, second to Councillor Bowman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, 6 applications for the special projects grant applications round 2 for the year. 5 of those are for approval, 1 to be advised that they were unsuccessful. The Bowen Seagulls Junior Rugby League Incorporated was for the costs of adding a 3rd playing field to the 2 that we already have there in Bowen. The Zonta Club of Bowen, that's the costs of establishing a Zonta section of reading material at the Bowen Library. The Zonta Club already have a section at the Canavale Library. The Whitsunday Equestrian Group, that's the costs to have a defib equipment for the group. Crossbine Golf Club, the cost of upgrading the existing sewage pump. And the Collinsville Connect Tally Group, that's the cost of a digital printed billboard banner depicting 2 pit ponies and a miner emerging from number 2 mine. The unsuccessful, to be advised, is the Whitsunday PCYC. The application was for the cost of breaking the cycle program for accredited driving instructors, and the reason for the application being unsuccessful because it's basically in accordance with the policy. Projects which include services activities that are the responsibility of a government body don't fit the criteria, and of course that's Queensland Police Service at the PCYC, so that one is for an unsuccessful. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Questions? Comments? Councillors? The motion that Council approve the payment of special projects grants, round 2 to assist the following recipients: Bowen Seagulls Junior Rugby League Club Inc. $10,000, Proserpine Golf Club Inc. $10,000, Zonta Club of Bowen Inc. $3,750, Whitsunday Equestrian Group Inc. $3,000, Collinsville Connect Telecentre Group Inc. $2,893, and also advise the applicant of an unsuccessful application with Whitsunday PCYC $10,000. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried 6-0.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Do a step counter.
There will be steps today, Mr. Mayor.
We should swap seats with you, John.
Yeah.
Councillor Finlay, 11.14 is carried. Item 11.15, Regional Arts Development Fund, 23-24.
So, through Mr. Mayor, this one's a little bit different, okay? I'm going to get the council to do some work on this one. I'm going to declare a conflict of interest, and as my wife is a member of the Creative Connections Whitsunday, and in accordance with the rules, I wish to participate in the decision in relation to this matter, as I do not believe a reasonable person could have a perception of bias, because I believe read the rest of what. But I want to seek advice from the CEO. It's up to the councillors to decide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's Councillor Finlay is saying he has an interest. He's explained that interest and he wishes to stay in the room. It's now up to the council to decide whether that is an appropriate action.
I think it just confirm that that's a declarable conflict of interest. You're not receiving any financial benefit.
No,
So it is a declarable interest of the council.
yeah, just for the mayor for clarification, and I'm not sure whether or not my wife will be attending the wearable arts workshop.
Councillor Wright.
That's to allow Councillor Finlay to stay, Mr. Mayor.
Will be dodgy.
Any discussion around that?
Common sense.
vote on that. Okay. Okay, put that to the vote. So that's carried 6-0. The item, so your Regional Arts Development Fund 2023-24 funding round 2. With Councillor Wright, second Councillor Collins.
Yep, thank you,
Want
Mr.
to
Mayor.
speak to that one?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, six applications for round 2 for the RADF fund. The first one was Noosa Film Academy. It's a 2-day screen production and community acting and screen workshops, and that's basically to empower Bowen and Collinsville's youth and community amid rural and social educational challenges. It seeks to bridge gaps by leveraging digital media and community engagement to cultivate skills, social cohesion and fuel personal growth. The committee recommended to fully fund the application. The second was the Creative Connections Whitsunday, wearable arts workshop series to upskill the community in recyclable materials. The workshops are thoughtfully crafted to ignite curiosity and promote collaborative engagement within the community and skills in the region. Wearable arts is a platform for artists and designers to embrace their exploration into form, structure, texture and colour using the electric mix of recyclable materials. And again, the RADF committee have recommended to fully fund the application. The third is Artists Connect Incorporated. It is the Whitsunday Trail, will enable tourists to easily connect with artists in the Whitsunday region with a well-appointed website, interactive flipbook, trail maps, event calendar, and a hard copy artist trail booklet that will be available from the tourist outlets, cafes and accommodation houses. Not only will this project benefit cultural tourism, but it will also have economic benefits for cafes and eateries along the trail. Now, the RADF committee have recommended to only partially fund this application due to the printing of the booklet, which RADF only covers a small percentage of. So the request was for $10,499 and the recommendation is for $8,000. The next is Music Evolution Project Incorporated. So that's regional projects and activities category by providing free, new and exciting opportunities for young people to participate in local music and performing arts activities that have a positive impact on the participants' social, mental and physical health by building the participants' skilled and knowledge and practical experience to support their development as the next generation of new and emerging magicians in the Whitsunday music scene. The committee have recommended to only again partially fund the application. Although it's commendable, the committee felt that the amount requested was a bit high. The RADF grants process is highly competitive and limited funds are made for each round. So the request was for $18,165. The recommendation was for $12,000. The next is the Great Barrier Reef Festival. For the Lantern Parade, it's always a signature festival event which by involving the community through workshops has achieved much growth over the past 3 years. The objective is to continue to engage the community in the workshops in Proserpine and Cannon Vale, led by 2 professional artists. For the festival, arts team of 5 collaborative and to create around a dozen large-scale reef-themed lanterns to line the Lantern Walk entrance to the festival foreshore precinct. Again, the committee recommended to partially fund the application. Although commendable, the committee decided to fund the artists employed and travel and materials supplied only. So the request was for $9,460. It's recommended on the screen $8,420. And the last one is the Gleeses Band. So the project is to professionally record, mix and master 6 original songs for an extended play. The object is to not only highlight the talent of the band Gleeses from the Whitsundays, but also highlight the Keep It Local term, as the recordings will also be conducted within the Whitsundays. The music video will be uploaded to YouTube and will feature sites from in and around the Whitsunday region. So the RADF committee recommended to fully fund this application. The project serves as an excellent opportunity for an emerging group to develop skills and professional development. And they had requested $9,750 and so recommended for the full amount. Plus, the first part of the recommendation, councillors, is to also receive the minutes from the RADF meeting. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, the Director, regarding the Whitsunday Artist Trail, is that for the whole of the region, including Coniston and Bowen?
Yes, I believe so, councillor, yes.
So if that's the case, might be a suggestion that they make it the Whitsunday Region Artist Trail.
Yep, we can suggest that when we go back with it.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Against? Okay, the motion that council receive the minutes from the Regional Arts Development Fund Local Advisory Committee and approve the payment of Regional Arts Development Fund grants as per the report. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 11.16, Rumble Pro Tour skateboarding event. With Councillor Bowman, second Councillor Clifford. Director Turner, would you like to speak to this one?
Thank you, Mayor.
Director Turner.
Thank you. So with regard to this report today, to its devised council of a proposed new regional event in the Whitsundays, and that is an event that they are seeking $20,000 for first year support, which is a budgeted amount within the ED budget. The event itself, so the parent body of Skating Australia have approached us to actually look to break up what was the national titles that were held in Mackay in both divisions of street and bowl. This year what they're proposing to do is do the street in Mackay and use the facilities at Cannon Vale to the bowl event. There's also another piece to this where we've been speaking with Skating Australia about what opportunities might exist for the Olympics at 2032. They're seeking 2 regional towns to be a part of that event where there'd be funding available to build additional facilities that will work for team training as well as potential events. So that's the bigger piece to this report. So the recommendation that we're seeking today from Council is that the Council supports the introduction of the skate bowl event in this year and endorses the financial support of $20,000 out of the ED budget, which is budgeted.
Thank you, through you, possibly to Director Gary. Is there any possibility before this happens, if it's passed, of course, that we can do something about putting some crusher dust or something down on the car park there, because it's not exactly wonderful at the moment. It's dirt. It's very limited car parking space anyway, but just to tidy up the general area.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, thank you for your question, Councillor Pippert. Yeah, it was discussed with LT in considering the event. Identified there's a bit of drainage work to do there and a bit of tidy up the car parking and just a general tidy up of the parks and gardens areas as well. So that'll all happen as part of the event to present it in the best light we can. Yeah, Councillor Wright.
Thank you. Through to me. Director Craig, with this, is it going to become like an annual event in the Whitsundays?
I think so, Councillor Wright. That's the case. What we're looking to do is fund it to $20,000 this year, and then the expectation would be that seed funding reduced over the current year, so 10,000, 5,000. But I think the opportunity also is that if we could grow the event to be regional, so it might be opportunities in Bowen, or it could be. So if we make it succeed this year, our proposal back to Skate Australia would be, how do we grow the event so it actually touches other parts of the region?
Yeah, that was my next question actually. Yeah, it'd be great if we could incorporate Bowen. I know they've got a great facility there, so yeah, if we could take turnabout or something like that and involve the whole region, but yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
The facility at Gideon Pop Park would certainly be suitable, we believe. So we've had a look at that recently. So that is our plan, is to grow this to be something that does actually provide economic benefit to the whole region.
So do we need to put that into the motion, or just to ask the question whether it can be alternate?
I might take advice from CEO Warren on that if you don't mind.
I suggest as we take that advice back and writing back to them to advise them of our decision, I think we can ask them about future years and also the opportunity for, even in this year, whether they can do operations in other parts of the region. Even if they're just explaining what's occurring and what could occur in the coming years.
Thank you. Thank you through you, and I'm not quite sure which way. Are we planning on putting in some grandstands or anything for people to view what's going on there? And also, have we given any thought, due to the lack of parking down there, of running shuttle bus, a dedicated shuttle bus from perhaps our car park in the middle of town, the Waterson Way one, where it's free, so like just a little bus?
Thank you, Councillor Clifford. Once we go back and confirm if Council resolves to fund the event, we'll be seeking to understand what infrastructure is required, what they're going to do. So I think that's a very valid question, and I think the setup of some type of grandstand that may be sitting, for example, next to the basketball courts there, and so I think there's a range of things we'll do to ensure that it is actually consumer friendly and presents the Whitsundays in its best light.
Thank you.
Just so, Director Craig, are you going to be participating?
Councillor Finlay, some years ago I did fall off a skateboard and hurt myself, so I'm actually going to have a proxy, Sean Kaywood, who's an aviation manager and tourism, will be on board. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Put that some of these away.
The motion, council provide financial sponsorship for the amount of $20,000, excluding GST, to Skate Australia for the skateboarding bowl event being held in the Whitsundays in July 2024. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Good smell. I'd like to move that we adjourn for morning tea. Those in favour? The meeting is adjourned at 10:32.
No, I'm pleased. I'm here for the rest of the meeting.
please. You do have the controls too. Okay, thank you. Meeting is reconvened at 11:01. Next item was 11.17, Freedom of Entry Parade, Airlie Beach Australian Defence Force. With Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Collins. Director Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, just a little bit of background on this one. Back in November 2017, the Combat Engineer Regiment, 3rd Combat Engineer Regiment, received the esteemed Freedom to the City from the then Mayor Andrew Wilcox, and it was basically in recognition to their valuable assistance following Cyclone Debbie. These honours hold significant prestige within the Army and compromises two distinct components. Now, the first part, Freedom to the City, has already been granted. The second part involves exercising the freedom of entry. So the request is for the 3rd Combat Engineer Regiment to exercise their freedom of entry into Airlie Beach with a VIP welcome cocktail party, plus a community street parade, and followed by a community day. A donation of $7,000 from council to cover the accommodation costs at the Proserpine Showgrounds from the 6th to the 12th of May 2024, and that will also cover the cost of the TV for the cocktail party, which the event company are going to actually leave down there for shade during the afternoon. Also to provide in-kind service with the skip bins from the showgrounds, and they'll be removed once the Army have vacated. And again, some in-kind support of up to $10,000 for the road closures for both the ceremonial march and the community street parade. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I don't think there's too many objections around the table for this one. I think that I'd just like to also acknowledge the fact that I remember driving down to Wilson Conway Beach with the General Field, I think his name was. Yeah, he was there, the boss fella, and it was Andrew and the Army blokes were cleaning the beachfront. It was just incredible watching them. They're like ants, you know. That's only just one area part of the region around town here. They were helping out all the way around as well, and you know, the freedom of the city, I think, is thoroughly deserved, these guys. So yeah, we're on heaps actually.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it will be a great event. Just also like to mention the generosity of the Proserpine Showground Committee with the offering of a discount on the hire for it as well. Great to see you being supported.
Okay. The motion the council approve the 3rd Combat Engineer Regiment to exercise their freedom of entry into Airlie Beach with a VIP welcome party and community street parade. Cash donation of $7,000 to cover their accommodation costs at Proserpine Showgrounds between 6th and 12th of May. Provision of in-kind support for a service of a skip bin to be delivered to the Proserpine Showgrounds and removed once the Army has vacated, and the provision of in-kind support for up to $10,000 for road closures. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Vote is carried unanimously. Okay, item 11.18, LGAQ Civic Leaders Conference. Move to Councillor Collins.
I'd like to move that Councillor Mayor Collins and Councillor Wright, sorry, Deputy Mayor go to Civic Leaders. Sorry. I'm going to call it Councillor Clark, but I'm just a bit back in time there. Sorry, Michelle.
Second, Councillor Finlay. Dr. Bradshaw, would you like to speak to that?
I can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, councillors, at the commencement of each term, the Local Government Association of Queensland, which is the peak industry body for the state, calls together traditionally the mayors and deputy mayors to essentially a summit to talk about the current topical issues for local government and provide an opportunity for networking with other councils throughout the state, opportunities to sort of increase our network and understand where the other new leaders are, knowing there's been significant change in local government across Queensland at the March 2024 elections. The report seeks to nominate, in this instance, the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor for attendance. The program is attached and happy to take any further questions.
Questions?
Thank you.
Accept? Yes.
Sorry, Michelle.
Which name?
Oh, we'll get Gary over here.
Anything further on that one? No? The motion that Council appoint Mayor Collins and Deputy Mayor Councillor Wright to attend the LGAQ Civic Leaders Summit to be held on the 21st of May 2024 to 22nd of May 2024 to be held on the Gold Coast. Put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.19, appointment of councillors to council committees.
Just a couple, and if the councils are willing to accept as well. So I know there was some discussion over the Tourism Whitsunday one, and I'd just like to nominate Councillor Clifford. And yeah, I know there was some discussion around the RADIF one as well, so if Councillor Bowman would accept that.
Accept those.
While we're there, just we add into the recommendation, just the we've got the Burdick and Local Marine Advisory Committee in there. We just don't have the Whitsunday Local Marine Advisory Committee. So we could just have, subject to the addition of the Whitsunday Local Marine Advisory Committee, for myself to remain as the council representative, and yes, I fully support Councillor Clifford being moved as Whitsunday proxy.
Comment on that? Seconder Councillor Finlay.
So just confirming those changes are Councillor Clifford to Tourism Whitsunday, Councillor Bowman remains as the RADF member, and Councillor Bowman has also raised Whitsunday Local Marine Advisory Committee with himself as the representative. Is that everyone's understanding? Did you want me to talk any further to the report, Mr Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So councillors, at the commencement of each term, we make a number of recommendations for members of council to be parties to and represent council on external committees right across the region. This has been previously discussed with council, and the nominations that are in the papers attached and with the addition brought forward by Councillor Bowman, and thank you for that. You'll see the list of nominated external committees that we utilise at the moment. There are a range of other proposals put forward in an amendment to the policy, and that's to recognise the voting role as councillors in their electoral divisions, but also in representing and being party to other committees right across the region. The policy seeks to bring some clarity to that, and also to confirm the reporting back obligations so that we understand the matters that require any confirmation or decision by council at a point in time that arise from business that may come out of any of those committees that would require council consideration. Happy to take any questions on the allocations or the policy change.
Questions, councillors?
Just see James and we're working on it there, just that my name is added under the Marine Advisory Committee in subsection A there.
Happy with that, Councillor Bowman? Yep.
maybe just one last mention while we're just a moment.
Just so that I know we do some work on the policy, just to clean up the dates at the bottom of it, that doesn't require an adjustment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as the policy is amended and changed, we'll update the table at the bottom to reflect its currency. Yep.
Is everyone happy with that as it stands?
Just a comment on the committees, if I may. So, will this mean in the report it says that at a briefing session, the committees should come back with a report on the committees that they sit on, and we have committees in the agenda, so will that come back into the agenda for each meeting?
Mr. Mayor, there's a number of options for reporting back to the group. So it may be a formal presentation of a PowerPoint, it may just be a copy of the minutes in relation to that. It may be a request for a formal presentation to the council at a meeting of this nature. So we'll be walking through with you as your membership what's the best way of getting that information back to the table so that everybody around the table is fully aware of what's happening with some of those committees going forward. So it's probably not a one size fits all, there's a mixture of options, but it's to ensure that there is a regular reporting back from each of those groups so that everybody's aware of what's going on. As in this case, you've been nominated as the representative for the whole of the council.
Thank you. It's, as he commented there have been some changes in the policy. It now brings this back to briefings that we report back through, because some of the different committees had a problem with or information from within their committee coming out publicly through our agendas and open meetings. The policy has been cleaned up to allow us to share that information between ourselves, but also in the interests of the committees that we're there to represent the public on. We're looking after that. I think it is an improvement.
Okay, the motion that council appoint councillor delegates to council committees is detailed in attachment 1, subject to the addition of the following: Councillor Bowman to be appointed to the Whitsunday Local Marine Advisory Committee, Councillor Clifford to be appointed as a proxy member to Tourism Whitsundays, and Councillor Bowman to be appointed as the RADF representative. Adopt the amended committees policy as shown in attachment 2. Right to all council committees appointed for 2024 to 28 term, and from the previous appointments in the 2020 to 2024 term, advise of new appointments and council's approach to appointments and representations. Put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, item 11.20, Bowen Driver Reviver. With Councillor Wright, second Councillor Clifford. Director Bradshaw,
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, the essence of this report is we've been approached by Department of Transport and Main Roads seeking to accept a donated asset as a result of discussions that have been occurring up there. Under Council's current delegations, there's no right for us to deal with this matter, and it requires a Council resolution to accept any new assets. Following site inspections and discussions, a suitable site has been identified, and the Mountall building that's being offered to Council is deemed to be in appropriate condition for future use. The Department of Transport and Main Roads will fund the relocation and rehabilitation of the existing site. It is planned to essentially, if you look at the map in the agenda, it's essentially moving the donga from the park across the road to adjacent to the existing building near the big mango. It's recommended that we do accept the donated asset, that Council fund for its purposes the connection to services that might be required to that building, and then essentially the operation will be undertaken through the current volunteers and work through Bowen SES. Understand there has been consultation with those groups, and there are support for this to occur. We have assessed the life of the building that's being transferred across, and should it be no longer required, there may be value in that if it needs to be sold or reallocated into the future, if in the long term it doesn't prove to be needed or usable by the groups. But that's probably considered a last resort, and there's more value by taking the building and relocating it at this point in time. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor, I know I do attend the Bowen tourism meetings, and the group actually approached me initially regarding that, and they're very much for it, very much in support. I think it'll actually gain a lot more access to visitors, and also they can utilise that space as well. So I think it's a win-win here. So yeah, it's great to see.
Thank you. I also agree. I think that we're certainly using the current information centre above and beyond the available floor space there. So in the times that this isn't being utilised as a driver survivor, then that it will be open then. I do see the budget of relocation has come down a fair bit for the council side of things, and I'm just wondering, within the leeway of the approximate 10,000 to connect the services, does that include carrying the awning, you know, from the toilet sort of across, that there is an all-weather connection between these two? I think the approximate maybe gives us the wording within that, but I'm just wondering if we are creating some sort of all-weather connection just between the two entranceways, or having an awning out the front there that does connect into the existing.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bowman, I don't believe so. The advice I'm getting from the manager in the back is we haven't got to that level of detail at this point in time, but you know, if it proves to be more meaningful in terms of how we undertake the transfer, then we'll have a look at it then within the constraints of the current budget, but also understanding, you know, what other expenses TMR might be willing to accommodate to get maximum use of the facility with the new addition attached to it.
Okay, the motion that council accept the demountable building asset currently located at Mount Gordon Rest area from the Queensland Government Department of Transport and Main Roads, relocate the demountable building known as the Bowen tourism site and include in council's asset register, delegate authority to the chief executive officer to negotiate and execute a deed with the Department of Main Roads and Transport to facilitate the transfer. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.21, monthly finance report. Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Finlay. Over to you, Director Bradshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, councillors, you have before you the monthly financial report for the period ended 31st of March 2024. It continues to provide council with the confirmation that we have a stable financial position at this time in the budget year. The operating surplus sits at just over $26 million, and we have funding for depreciation still in there of $23.8 million. It's forecast at this point in time, whilst we've done significant work on the budget review 2, which will come to council next month in May 24, council will still end the year in a stable financial position. So there is a requirement each month for us to present financial reports to council, saying that really for the benefit of yourself, Mayor, and obviously for Councillor Finlay. You will see the finances each month. The financial report, which is the first attachment, I'll just talk to some of the detail in there. You'll see the actual year to date in terms of our total revenue is just short of $133 million for the operating budget. And you can see that with the expenses currently being incurred and the provision for depreciation, that provides that operating surplus of $26 million. The rates and charges have essentially been completed for the year in terms of water and 2 issues of rate notices. There may be some supplementary notices for changes in valuations that occur between now and the 30th of June, but that will be dependent on the transfers coming across from the Department of Resources. You'll note in the tables there that we continue to be a little underspent in our year-to-date expenses for materials and services. There are a range of reasons for that, and part of that is tied to the underspend in the employee expenses, again impacted by a number of vacancies being held by the organisation, and we are continuing to work on our recruitment strategies for attracting and retaining staff into the longer term. The value of the community assets held by council is $1.45 billion at the moment. So taking into account, aside from providing payments to suppliers, the actual debt for council is about $66.8 million. So in simple terms, if you had a house that was worth $1.45 million, you'd owe $66,500 on that mortgage. That's to give you some context in terms of the debt to what we own in terms of the value of the assets. We continue to hold healthy levels of cash. That's partly due to the prepayment of grants from federal and state government money, but it also represents the ability that we've been able to leverage returns in the financial markets due to changes in the interest rates throughout the financial year. Of note, Council continues to hold money in term deposits with financial institutions of $60 million. That part of that will be due to retire in terms of its maturity before the 30th of June. And then there's just under $95 million being held at the Queensland Treasury Corporation as part of their cash management fund offering. The delivery of capital expenditure is tracking behind where we would be for the financial year, and that's due in part to weather, but it is on the increase as we approach the end of the financial year, which correlates to the drier season where work gets undertaken and completed throughout the year. You will note there that there is a red traffic light for the underspend, but as we report the budget review information next month in May, you'll see that back inside parameters because there's some changes in timings of projects and those delivery. And that's really being driven by an increased maturity in the project management framework and approach that we've undertaken across council over the last 12 months or so. That's giving us much better information about our capacity to deliver projects, but also understanding how those projects will progress, and that ties to the cash flows associated with their construction or the delivery of goods and services such as the fleet. All of the ratios that we're required to deliver against through the state government are within the bounds as at the 31st of March. There are green ticks in the box at the bottom of the page of 180 that support that. Probably happy to take that as the commentary on the report, Mr. Mayor. There are some financial statements and also the capital delivery report that details project expenditure, and happy to take questions where we can.
Yeah, from there to Director Jason. With regards to the water usage accounts, the readings in June, I think it is, yeah, taken. Are they actually recorded in this financial year, or will they be recorded in the books for next financial year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the water use will be recorded in next financial year. There'll be provision in some of the inventory within the balance sheet for water in terms of our record of our cost of production of water, but the actual billing of revenue will happen in next financial year. Yep.
I just the reason the question is the actuals to our budget for the rates is the involved part.
Through the Mayor. Director Jason, just with some of the flags, the red one on the capital delivery, which we are aware of, but are we? It says the current year to date is at 6%. Are we looking at least matching that from last financial year, or how are we? Are we on track for the capital delivery a bit more?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the capital delivery is improving. What we now have more clarity on is what we'll actually get finished or plan to finish this financial year. So when we come back for budget review 2 in May, there'll be some projects that are pushed out, but there'll be other work that's being brought in as well. So we know what our capability of spend in total is, and we're on track to be in the vicinity of delivering similar to what we've done in the last financial year, but trying to find where our balance is. Some of the, because we've had such a long time between the budget reviews, so we did the first one in the early part of the financial year, and due to the election, the budget review 2 is coming late in the financial year. There's a number of projects that aren't necessarily recognised in the budget, but we've actually done and delivered. So particularly around the works for disaster reconstruction. So there are a package of those works that are being delivered and will continue to be delivered, but they were not provided for in the budget at the time. So the ins and outs will essentially balance, and our ability to get work done will be about what it was last year in terms of the total spend. But it's something that we continue to work on, and as we bring forward the 24-25 budget and beyond, you'll see what our planned intentions are for how works are spread across the financial years, and there'll be some works may be brought forward, some works may be pushed back depending on our ability to resource and what that type of work is. So more detail will come through the next month's discussions.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it's timely, Director Jason, seeing this is our first meeting of the new term. You touched on all the figures there. This is my second term. When I started, we had a $80-odd million debt, and it's been reduced to 66. So, and the assets are going in the other direction. So I think it's a fairly comprehensive, good position to be in. There are every now and then I'll get the occasional comment how bad the books are, but to you and your staff and team, yeah, it's my credit anyway. You're doing quite well. Thank you.
Comments? Motion, council receive the financial report, capital expenditure report and unaudited financial statements for 2023-24 for the period ended 31st March 24. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Okay, so that's the last of our reports. There's number 12, late report items. There are no late reports. 13, matters of importance. A reminder this section serves for urgent non-operational matters only. Any councillors like to raise any matters of importance? Councillor Collins.
Just a question to the Director of Infrastructure, Gary. The Kelsey Creek landfill, is it still closing on the 1st of May, going ahead with construction? How are we looking with that, mate?
Mr. Mayor, two separate issues. So the closure of the landfill, the redirection of waste to Bowen is related to maintaining landfill capacity. Whilst we manage landfill, the construction of the new cell, the tenders close, I think, in about 2 weeks' time. I'm not exactly sure on the actual date. So the re-tendering exercise is on track, depending on what feedback we get. There's been considerable interest being managed by Capital Services, but I can provide a more detailed update to Council via Direct Adam in due course.
So the closure is definitely happening on the 1st of May?
It's unrelated through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
It's effectively unrelated with the contract. The issue is if the contract doesn't go according to schedule, the closure will be for a longer period because the new cell won't be available. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's all. Declare the meeting finished at 11:29 a.m. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.
Well done, Mr. Mayor.